Hey everybody, welcome back for another video. Travis Scott has broken his silence in the wake of the Astroworld tragedy, having an hour-long interview with Charlamagne Tha God. Today we're going to be reacting to that interview, and as a result of that, this is going to be a much longer video today, so bear with us. As always, if you're enjoying the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Just as initial disclaimer, I watched maybe 5 minutes of this video when it first came out, but the majority of this will be my initial watch of this video. So let's play it.
So whenever you're ready.
Travis Scott, what's up, brother?
What it do?
How you feeling?
You know, I've been on about like different type of like emotions, you know, emotional roller coaster. I mean, it gets so hard because, you know, I always felt like connected with my fans.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I went through something, you know, and I feel like fans went through something and people's parents went through something. And it's, you know, it really, you know, it hurts. It hurts a community, it hurts a city.
So this is interesting. He starts with I this, I that, I this, I that. I'm not surprised that he describes it as went through something, experienced something. That's verbiage that he's gotten from his lawyers more than likely. He doesn't want to commit to any particular description of it. So he says they experienced something. Something happened. Something occurred, right? There's this kind of vague terminology. So to me, that's lawyer speak of his attorneys getting in his ear saying, look, don't commit to a particular way of describing this tragic loss of life. But it is interesting to me that he starts it with talking about himself. If this were me, the way that I would lead off is by speaking directly to the families of those who died and saying, look, if there's any way that I can help y'all, please tell me, because I feel for your loss. Or work with your attorney for a couple hours and come up with some sort of non-guilt admission way to make a gesture to those families. Very interesting that it's first and foremost about him and not about the victims. I sort of view that as a misstep. Pretty big one, but let's keep watching.
It's just been a lot of thoughts, you know, a lot of feelings, a lot of grieving, and just, you know, trying to wrap my head around it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to be there, and just, you know, wish you could just kind of like hold everyone, you know, kind of just heal them, talk to them, have conversations.
I mean, again, lots of I statements here, lots of I want to do this to people, I want to do that to people. I'm certainly not a body language expert, but this doesn't, if I were on the jury, this doesn't look like genuine contrition to me. But no, what do I know?
You know, it just, you know, it really just hurts, man.
What's your?
This is a very abbreviated, this hurts. And again, it's more about what this is doing to him. He's talking more about this hurts me. This hurts me that this happened. Not so much giving primary placement to, you know, there are 10 families that lost humans, right? There are 10 people who are dead and dozens who are injured, right? Not putting that first and foremost, but I, Travis Scott, am hurting as a result of this. And again, I question why you would phrase things this way.
Intention with this conversation? Like what do you hope to get out of this, or what do you hope to get out?
I don't personally have an intention. I just feel like...
Yeah, BS, you don't have an intention. Right. This is a PR. Of course you don't have an intention. Yeah, interviews like this just get set up like accidentally.
Something happened and I feel like it's just... I needed just a way to kind of like communicate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right, because he's incapable of communicating otherwise. I'll keep the snarky comments to a minimum, but yeah, we're a minute and 30 in, and this is absurd.
one, the families are grieving, it's fans that experienced something, it's fans that came to a show. And I feel like I just have I've always been that person to always see things through with the people that shared experiences with me. And, it just, things happen and, I just kind of, it's been such a time and I've just been trying to just really figure things out,
I know you.
Yeah, I mean, you basically just said nothing, but that, okay.
I'm sure you experienced remorse, but was there any hesitation to have this conversation because of the litigation you may be facing?
Well, I mean, yeah, of course you got people that's just like, what? Like, but.
What? Like, honestly, you got people who are like, what? I have no idea what you're trying to say there, number one. Number two, this question seems to me to be an obvious plant because Travis Scott does not say, I'm experiencing remorse. Those are words that come out of Charlamagne's mouth, and then Travis Scott can kind of, sort of agree with those words, which gets him some of the PR benefit or whatever, but he's not on record as saying, I have remorse about this. So at this point, I'm pretty suspicious that some of these questions are scripted, perhaps all of them, but that question in particular seems like it was written by the legal and PR team for Travis Scott to have someone else say, hey, you feel remorse, right? And then respond by not quite saying yes, but like sort of making some sounds that are like an agreement.
It's not about that. It's, you're an artist, whoever people think you are, but at the end of the day, you're a human being, and you have emotions. You want to communicate them emotions, and trying to find the best way to communicate, how you just feeling,
So again, it's interesting. This is all about how he's feeling. It's all about how he's feeling, and he wants to communicate something.
How have you been coping with the aftermath of everything? Just emotionally, just you as a human.
I've been just in a room for a while, a lot of thoughts, and luckily, you have people around that you can kind of bounce ideas, but it just been, I've been doing this for such a long time, and nothing like this ever happened, so it just kind of like you just kind of figuring out, and at the end of the day, like these fans are your family, so you just feel like you lost something, and you you do these shows honestly to, for people to have the best experience, and just to think that something like this happened, you're just trying to figure out, just wrap everything around, and so this seems to me,
this seems like hesitation. He wants to say that he's sorry, I think, but some lawyer beat him over the head and said, don't say you're sorry, because saying that you're sorry on an interview like this would be legally the kiss of death. So he can't say that. So I don't fault him for not saying that. But it seems to me, and I'll be really interested, by the way, I'll be really interested to see what like the body language analyst people have to say about the way that he's moving here, because it seems like there's something going on. I don't know what, but he wants to say something, but he can't say it. Now, whether that's like frustration and like he feels unfairly accused, or like he wants to say he's sorry and he can't, or something, but like he's beating around the bush of he wants to say something, but he's not.
Even just for the first couple weeks, it was just me sitting down, but I had to really channel these emotions to just remember, like, if no one's gonna be a voice for these people, I gotta like kind of step up and kind of like be a voice to just figure out that, this doesn't happen in the future, it just shows, period. You know what I'm saying?
So this is interesting. He's saying that he needs to represent the victims, which is that's crazy. It's crazy, but he's attempting to position himself as the champion for the victims and as the champion for the people who died, and saying, I am going to represent these people, even though the families of half of the victims told him to take his funeral offer and shove it. But what he's sounds like he's trying to do is saying that he's going to, lead the charge for reform and how music festivals are conducted or something. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Or figure out the bottom solution of what's going on and just try to ensure people, safety and what they're doing,
Yeah, you said you was in the room, but then people saw you at the golf course.
Yeah,
with Michael Jordan and Mark Wahlberg. What was that?
So this is the first actual question that Charlamagne has asked. Everything up to this point has been a cream puff question. This is the first real question with anything that could even be remotely considered an edge to it that he has asked him, and we're 4 minutes into the interview. So 10% of the way in, he actually asked a question. So good job, Charlamagne.
It was just Thanksgiving. And they were there. It was just good people to have around in the community. And, that was just more like a personal time, just trying to get around. Think some fan came and asked for a photo. But, yeah.
Now, let's talk about that night, man. When did you find out things got as bad as they did? Now, that's the question everybody wants to know.
Yeah, it wasn't really until minutes until.
So this is a dangerous question to ask. And if that question was approved by Travis's PR team, that's really interesting because the timeline becomes kind of important. So let's see.
Until the press conference, until I figured out exactly what happened, even after the show, you just kind of hearing things, but you don't know. I didn't know the exact details until, minutes before the press conference.
So this is interesting because we have people saying that he was told about it at the after party that he and Drake went to Dave & Buster's. And that was the initial PR response from Travis Scott's team, was saying the reason he was at the after party with Drake was because he didn't know until somebody came and told him at the after party. And then Drake, I guess, went to the strip club the next day, but whatever. So let's see how this timeline matches up.
And even at that moment, you kind of just wait, what? You just went through something and it's just wait, what?
So you didn't know people that actually passed away and stuff?
Nah.
Wow.
So he's saying that night or maybe the next morning that he didn't know that people had passed away. This section right here might be a problem for him in the future because he's tying himself down to a very specific version of events. And I don't know that legally it creates any liability in and of itself, but if it comes to light that someone told him that people had died before the time that he's saying, then you can use that as impeachment evidence, number one, to show that he's a liar. And number two, it can go to the sentencing phase and the damages phase of, does he really show remorse for what happened? And what level of damages ought to be assessed, given not only the culpable conduct that may or may not exist, but the defendant's kind of attitude towards that culpable conduct. And if exemplary damages or punitive damages are on the table for this case, then his behavior could become very, very relevant. So, interesting move. Not legally bad necessarily, but interesting move.
Until minutes before, which is, and at the thing is people pass out, people, things happen at concerts, but something like that, it's just
Yeah, people said that.
So this is interesting. He's saying people pass out at concerts, but he stops short of saying something like, I had no idea that anything dangerous was going on. He's not coming out with a full-throated dispute. He's not coming out with a full-throated, I had no idea, I didn't know, nobody told me, this is a complete surprise, blah, blah, blah. He's not saying anything like that. He's stopping short of that, which again is, this is going to be a long video because I keep stopping it, but this is there's something going on here.
They collectively heard folks screaming help every time you stopped the song to get your attention. Did you hear any of those screams?
Nah, man. And you know,
I mean, number one, super softball question, right? Like, hey, you didn't hear anybody screaming, did you? The answer is no, right? I mean, like, very softball question.
it's so crazy because I'm that artist too. Like, you know, anytime you can hear something like that, you want to stop the show. You want to make sure, you know, fans get the proper attention they need, you know?
Yeah, obviously.
And anytime I could see anything like that, I did, you know?
No, this is true. He did actually stop the show a couple times.
You know, I stopped it like a couple times to just make sure everybody was okay. And I just really just go off the, you know, the fans' energy as a collective, you know, call and response. And I just didn't hear that. You know, I got music, I got my in-ears, but I just didn't hear that, you know?
So this is interesting, and a couple of the comments from the previous videos have talked about what exactly is going on in the what he says the in-ears, meaning the headphones that connect him to the backstage people, to security, the whoever's connected on that thing, and in this particular concert. This is an interesting point, right? Because it's going to go to what did he know, at what time did he know it? And here he's sort of blaming the audience. He's sort of saying like, well, if people were dying in the audience, then the audience should have told me to stop the show. So really, it's the audience's fault. Not a great look. Legally, probably a good defense tactic, but PR-wise, blaming your fans is not a wonderful move.
Break that down a little more. Like nobody knows what it's like being on stage except for other artists. So speak to us from that perspective of what you can see and hear. It was like, what, 50,000 people?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, right. He's about to educate us on what it's like to be an artist.
You got like a venue, you know, filled with like 50,000 people. But it's like a sea. You got lights, you got sound, you got pyro, you got your in-ears, you got your sound, got your mic, you know, got the music, you got band, there's all type of, you know, stuff going on.
So it's hard to tell excitement from danger, so to speak?
Yeah, of course.
Again, what a softball question. But let's talk about, obviously, the lights and the sounds and the in-ears and whatever. Number one, were not sufficiently distracting that you couldn't see an ambulance in the crowd because you said there's an ambulance in the crowd. Number two, we're not sufficiently distracting to be able to see people who are passed out. But, you know, actual thing that you could be legally liable for, well, we're going to stop short of that.
Of course, everything kind of just sounds the same. And at the end of the day, you just hear music, you know? And when you do, you just hear amongst of things, you know? But when you're in a show, you just enter the show, and anytime you can feel anything close to you, you know, you try to like definitely get to that.
So as an artist, how much can you actually, I guess, help in that position?
You can only help what you can see, you know what I mean?
Right. So he's setting up a defense here of like, oh, I couldn't see it.
And then, you know, whatever you told, you know what I'm saying?
Throwing the security company under the bus.
Whenever somebody tell you to stop, you just stop.
Throwing the security company and the organizer under the bus.
But just wasn't it.
It wasn't that night, huh? You know, raging has been a part of the culture, you know, of your shows. You know, you didn't on this night, but in the past, you've encouraged, I guess, the kind of energy that could have led to something like this happening.
So number one, where Charlamagne says you didn't on this night, I don't know who wrote that question, but it's incorrect, and there's footage that shows that.
Do you think that contributed to the energy of this night?
Yeah, nah, I think, you know, it's something I've been working on, you know, for a while, of just creating these experiences and trying to show like the experiences happening in a safe environment. You know, us as artists, we trust, you know, professionals to make sure that, you know, things happen and people leave, you know, safely.
Right, so he's throwing everyone else under the bus. He's everyone but me. Everyone's bad but me.
You know what I'm saying? And this night was just like a regular show. You know, it felt like to me. As far as like, you know, the energy, people, it didn't feel like it was like, you know, people didn't show up there to just be harmful. People just, I think, showed up to have a good time, and then, you know, something unfortunate happened. And I think we really just got to figure out, you know, what that was, you know?
Does raging make it harder to identify when something is going wrong in the crowd?
Well, I think, you know, raging is just you know, they have a textbook, you know, definition, but, you know, in concerts, we've grown it to be just an experience of having fun. It's not about just, harm. It's not about that. It's about just letting go and having fun.
So this is interesting, and this kind of gives you an insight into what probably part of the defense will be. Is here he's essentially saying that raging doesn't really mean raging. That raging has some other term that we've redefined the word, and it doesn't have the meaning that it means in English. It has some other meaning that we've just made up.
You know, help others, you know, love each other. It's not about...
So rage doesn't mean violent, uncontrollable anger. Rage actually means love. I don't know if y'all knew that, but now you know.
Just, you know, harm. That's not what it's all about. The show isn't just rambunctious for an hour. You know, that's not what it is. You know?
Oh, trust me, I grew up on crunk.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand. You know, you don't want it to get too out of hand.
Yeah, but you know, the energy is high, you know, and
the energy is high, but I had nothing to do with it. It happened. Mistakes were made.
You know, and that's why you want to just make sure that, you know, people are surrounded, to make sure that people are just having the best experience. You know what I'm saying? You know, I can't say the energy is high, but you know, you make sure that people are there for people to have like the best experience and leave. You know?
Yeah, you want people to have a good time. You don't want people to get hurt
at all.
Yeah. And you know, God forbid, pass away.
Yeah, you don't hate puppies, right? The answer is no. Come on.
And you know, it's typical for you to stop a show to make sure fans in the crowd get the help, you know, they need. There's even footage of that night of you doing that during the set. Were you unable to sense like a difference in urgency this time around?
I mean, yeah, because you know, you stop the show, but you know, if something's gonna happen, if it's something detrimental, somebody's gonna let you know, or you know, the show would just stop. And you know, that just wasn't the case. You know, I just kind of stopped the show. You know, you just ask, you have a call and response with the fans. You try to, you know, generally get a response, but you know, if you don't get like a hard stop, you know, it's just.
Yeah, somehow I don't think that call and response with the fans qualifies as an acceptable safety mechanism for when to start and stop a concert, but I guess we can figure that out in court.
You can't, you just go off of what's going on, you know, which makes it so like, so crazy, cause like, you know, if I feel like if, you know, anyone would have known, it would have just been like, it wouldn't have got that far, you know.
What headspace were you in when you posted that initial response video?
I mean,
So this is an interesting question, because that response video, that quote, apology video has been absolutely ripped apart on a couple of videos that I've seen, and I'm sure even more that I have not seen. And by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, I highly, highly recommend that everyone go watch the Observe body language analysis of that quote, apology video. It is fantastic. The dude is absolutely nails. Dissociated on multiple substances and seemingly fed up with the whole incident is about the best description of that video that I have ever seen. Fantastic analysis.
I mean, I think it had to have been the night of, you know?
So this is interesting. Now he's saying, and here we have the timeline sort of collapsing in, is we have him saying that he recorded that video the night of, but if you rewind, he's saying that he didn't really know all of the details until the next day. And I believe if you look at his social media, that video was not posted until a day or two after. So the details here and exactly what lines up where, you're in some pretty tricky territory.
I was just in a headspace of just trying to get a communication out to my fans, you know. I had little to no information, you know, so I was just trying to figure it out and just communicate to them, you know. Yeah, I was just reacting just literally just to get something to the fans, you know. It's people that showed up.
Do you regret that initial video? Do you regret reacting in that way, or not having all the information before you said something?
I mean, yeah, because, you know, you just don't know what's going on, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to get something out. You know, how my message came out, I can only go off what I know, but my true intentions of it, was really just trying to get a message across, and really wanted to just touch to the fans, touch to the families, that we here, we grieving, and we'll get through this, through this process.
So what this sounds like to me is he has been told by more than one person that initial apology video that he did sucked and that he needs to walk it back and redo it. And he's sort of trying to do that here.
So what did you know in that first video?
I mean, at that...
Again, another slightly good question. Good job. I think we're up to 2 or 3.
At that time, I think we just knew that, people passed, we didn't know how, that it was, the news, I think police came out and said something, you're just going off of what you're seeing in the news, you don't really know nothing. And then as the days go on, you start collecting a little bit more information.
So this is interesting. Is he saying that he knew that people passed the night of? Or is he saying that he knew that people passed the next day at the press conference? Or what exactly is... There's some... Inconsistency might be a little bit too strong of a word, but there's some threads here to pull. There's what seem like possibly some cracks in his story here. He's not quite saying the same thing within the last 5 to 10 minutes.
They said there was like chaos and trampling being reported since the early afternoon, like hours before the show even started. Were you informed of any of that ahead of time?
Well, no. Like,
what are you gonna say yes to that question, dude? Come on.
The police. He came and to my trailer, and he congratulated me on the event and having something like this in Houston. He let me know that it was mishap at the merch booth earlier. They shut it down, but they opened it back up. They seemed to got it under control. He was gonna step out and just let us know if we need anything.
So again, he's now throwing the police under the bus, saying it's HPD's fault.
Have a good show. That was it.
A lot of the criticism, from the tragedy, they say, is in the poor planning and understaffing of the event. As an artist, do you have any involvement in any of that?
What a... I mean... What are you gonna say yes to that question? Come on, bro.
Well, I mean, we just do, as an artist, you just do the creative. And for this being my festival, I got, bring artists, creatively produce it. And, we just trust in, the professionals to kind of just make sure that, people, are taken care of and, leaving safely. I just can control what I can on the stage, and then, you have the professionals control what they can in the crowd,
This interview so far is an absolute cream puff. Like, what a f***ing question.
It's just hard because as an artist, you want to have like the best shows and you want to have the best experiences, and you link with professionals to handle that side of it, and you want to know what's going on. I think that's what we got to figure out, and figure out what happened there, how it happened,
You spoke on the Houston police chief. His name is Troy Finner. He came to you, and he said he voiced concerns over the crowd energy. So what did you and your team do with that information? What you got?
Well, I think that's what the media. Said, but I think it read to more so that he wanted us to. He knew that our crowd was, the type of crowd that comes. It comes at a heavy crowd. So to communicate with him if we were doing anything outside of the week's itinerary,
So this is interesting. So he's disputing the Houston police chief's account of what actually happened and what conversation was had. So we'll see what comes out of that. But he's disputing some facts here, which tells you a couple things. Number one, it tells you that they think that particular fact is going to be very important, which I agree. If it comes to pass that the Houston police chief did in fact tell Travis Scott well before his set, hey, we have dangerous conditions, don't play or add safety precautions or do whatever, then the knowledge part of this whole issue is a foregone conclusion. It's done. It's over. That's it. So yeah, I think if you're Travis Scott, you don't have any choice but to push back on this particular fact, because that's a really bad fact for you, and this puts him in a pretty bad position because, I mean, individual cops, yeah, they'll lie from time to time, but the chief of the police department, I don't think is going to be a liar. I don't think the jury would view the chief of a police department as a liar. But let's keep going.
That week we were doing like a lot of charity stuff prior to the festival, so there's security at most of the events. But he was just letting us, I guess in that statement he was just saying if we do anything outside of what we had on our itinerary to let him know. Mm-hmm. But we didn't even get to that point.
It's crazy. Just being there kicking it with you for a little bit, like I can see that, this is weighing real heavy on you.
Yeah.
So how much?
I mean, again, we're going back to, that might be a plant question, because Travis Scott can't say I'm sorry based on legal advice, right? If I was his lawyer, I would say, listen, you might be sorry, but you can't say sorry, because that's you're basically giving up the civil case if you say that. So he can't say sorry. But Charlamagne is sort of putting those words in his mouth, and he's half-heartedly agreeing, which for me casts a lot of doubt on whether these questions are really written by Charlamagne, and maybe they are, but whether these questions are really written by Charlamagne or whether they're written by Travis Scott's PR team. These are just like, if I'm interviewing someone, I don't think I asked them that softball of a question, right? I think I made this joke earlier. This is like saying, hey, do you kick puppies? The answer is no, right? It's like there's really only one. I mean, what's he gonna say? Yes.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility for what happened that night?
Well, fans come to the show and have a good experience, and I have a responsibility to figure out what happened here. I have a responsibility to figure out the solution. And I gotta, and hopefully this takes a first step into, us as artists, having that more insight of what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Again, I'm not surprised that he doesn't say, I feel responsible for the tragedy. Almost certainly his lawyers have told him, don't say that. That's what I would say if I were his lawyer. Good dodge of the question, but I don't know. I don't know what to think about that answer.
And the professionals to kind of surround and figure out more of an intel, whether it's tech, whether it's more of a response, whether it's whatever the problem is, to figure out that, and in the future moving forward in concert safety, make sure this never happen again.
Well, let's talk about those professionals. Like how much responsibility do you think like Live Nation and Score More, the promoters, have in all of this?
Yeah, here we go.
I mean, they do their job of setting these things up. So I mean, I think they when we dial into what specifically happened here, I feel like even they can kind of help figure out what happened in a sense. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I think collectively everyone needs to just figure out the bottom line solution. But especially in concert safety, definitely got to have make sure that these things are done right. Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. He's trying to make this about concert safety going forward, and he kind of sort of throws Live Nation under the bus. Not 100%, but he kind of does.
You think these festivals are too big, man? 50,000 people is a lot of people for anybody to control.
Yeah, there are festivals that are bigger. Mm-hmm. Way bigger. And I just think it's not about the maximum of it. I think it's about the attention to what's going on and how it's going on. And as long as that's handled, I feel like things can be, can go okay, will be okay, But if you look at it through the history of festivals, this isn't the first time happening. There's been a long history of this, So I feel like if you look at the overall, view of that, and you kind of like dial in, okay, what could we do better to fix this overall for general concert safety? I think we figure out the problem, and make it better for people to have better live experiences.
So he's Travis Scott, the concert safety evangelist.
Live Nation reportedly agreed to end the concert early after the Houston PD and the fire department declared it a mass casualty event, but the concert continued for another 40 minutes. Was there ever any communication to you on stage that you should end this?
So the first half of that was a good question. And the second half, again, what are you going to say? No, like, are you going to say, yes, they told me to stop and I keep going? Obviously you say no to this. Like these questions are cream puffs.
Well, yeah, they just told me right after, the guests get off stage, we're going to end the show, and that's what we did. Other than that, there was no other communication.
So again, he's putting blame on Live Nation here. He's saying, Live Nation only told me we're ending the show after the guest, and they didn't tell me why, and they didn't tell me anything else, and they just told me we're ending it after the guest, which is sort of not what the question was.
So after the guest, what you mean?
Yeah, after the guest comes out,
okay,
we're gonna end the show. But it wasn't communication on why. It was just, that's what came through my ears.
Oh, so they didn't say stop now?
No. It wasn't,
gotcha.
No.
Wow.
So he's saying that he was in communication with the backstage about whether the show should end or not end or whatever. So this is not a case where he was isolated and cut off from the people who could have told him to end the show, right? This is a case where there was some sort of communication and he was not told that, or he was told that and continued the show, one or the other, either by reason of negligent hiring or, insufficient hiring, or having people too scared to speak up to their boss, or, or just flat out ignoring, what people are telling you.
I feel like people are forcing more responsibility on you because you are the front man, because it was Astroworld.
Well, yeah, I'm the face of the festival. I'm an artist. So yeah, the media is, they want to, put it on me. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't think it's more so about that. I think it's more so about stepping up to figure out what the problem is. And I could take that. Mm-hmm. I could take, stepping up to figure out what the problem is. I could take stepping into figuring out the solution that never happened again. Because that's what I generally want to do in general, even just for my community, Mm-hmm. The whole idea for why I brought this festival to the city was to, show that Houston is something different. And show that there's all different types of lives, there's all different type of energy. And just bring that morale to the city, and just bring that energy to the city. So I definitely want to, step in to figure out, how could we fix this in the future? What can we do to, change these things,
Do you?
Yeah, who knows this guy? He's a concert safety evangelist. It's amazing.
Feel like you did everything you possibly could to help in that situation?
Yes. Yes. Anything I physically can, for sure. Yes. And it.
Again, what are you gonna answer? What are you gonna say? No.
And it just, if knowing, what was going on, you would just wish, how if you could have done something better, but standing there, 1,000%.
We know that the families of the people who passed are definitely watching this right now, and there's nothing you could say to heal the trauma these families who lost loved ones are going through. But being that they're watching, what would you say to them directly?
I'll say to them that I'm always here, and that I'm in this with you guys, and I love you, you know, and I'll always, you know, be there to help you guys heal through this. And I understand that they're going through, you know, they're grieving right now and they're finding understanding right now. And, you know, it's not just like a right now thing, it's a for everything. And these people that came to the show, they are my family. And I've always had that connection to the people I feel like that listen to the music or came to my shows. And that's why I really, you know, it's really hard on me even just, you know, to even like, you know, man, even, because, you know, they end up, they lost their loved ones, you know? So it you know, it's tough. And, you know, I just want to always just be there for them and just always just be able to just know that I'm going to fix this for the future people, you know, and fix this solution, and fix this problem. I mean, you know, and find a solution to making sure that this doesn't happen in the future, and definitely be a #1 voice for this, you know. Because that, you know, I feel like that's like one of the, what we got to figure out. Because other than that, it's like, you know, the show goes on tomorrow, or, you know, something goes, how does this get fixed?
This could happen again.
So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this part, right? So this is 19, 20 minutes in to the overall interview where he finally addresses the families directly. And I'm sure some people are going to take issue with the fact that he never says sorry. And I agree with the emotional thrust of that point. I get it. However, let's note that Travis Scott is in all likelihood under the strictest of strict orders from his attorney to not have the word sorry come out of his mouth, right? Because that's a word that you play in front of a jury in a civil trial and ends up losing you millions and millions of dollars and et cetera, et cetera. And so, morally, should he have said sorry? Yes. Hell yeah. Absolutely. 100%. Legally, am I surprised that he doesn't say sorry here? No, I'm really not. This is a product of good lawyering, of good counsel. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if his lawyer's standing behind the camera watching with an air horn or something saying, you better not say sorry. Now, let's talk about the rest of what he has to say to the families here, which I find inadequate for a lot of reasons. First among those reasons is there's a lot that you can say other than I'm sorry, right? You can, I'm grieving with you. I feel your pain. It's a tragedy and you didn't deserve that. Nothing can bring your loved one back. And I sympathize with you. And I feel your loss. There are a lot of things that you can say directly to those families that are similar to I'm sorry. That maybe you could have scripted up with your attorney. I don't know. But rather than really engage with any of that grief and I think recognition, and there, to be fair, he's not a 0 out of 10 for recognizing the grief. He's, you know, maybe like a 4 or 5 out of 10. You know, there's a moment there where you can. It seems like he's genuinely sad. Seems like he's genuinely sad. Seems like he's genuinely feeling the pain. But the rest of it, he just wants to turn it into we need to make concerts safer. We need to make concerts safer. Well, yeah, okay. But what about your responsibility in this? What about accepting your responsibility in this? If I were one of the families, that's the question that I would be asking. I would say, okay, great. We need to make concerts safer. Yeah, fine. What about you step up and accept some responsibility for this? I didn't lose anybody in Astroworld. But if I had, I'd be pretty pissed with that kind of non-apology. And maybe there's no way around that. Maybe that's where an interview like this is just inherently a nothing burger, because nobody's going to be happy, because legally, any good legal advice is going to tell this dude, don't say the only thing that is going to give those families some semblance of emotional what they're looking for. So maybe doing an interview like this is a mistake for him, because there's no way that it makes things better. It only makes things worse. I don't know. Let's keep watching.
This could happen again. It's happened before.
Yeah.
You're a father. You know, God forbid when your kids are of age, if they're in a situation like this, you know, I want you to put yourself in those parents' shoes right now. What would you want to see come of this situation if you?
I want to see people put their heads together. I want to see people really figure this out, not take this lightly, you know, and really act on it.
See, this is the other, there's not really anything to figure out, right? Like, concerts are not a new technology. Right? This is not the iPad. This is not 5G. This is not fiber internet. This is not the metaverse. This is not, live concerts are something that we've had around for a very, very long time. This isn't some like new technological problem. Like, oh my God, how are we going to deal with this? No, this is something that we've known about for a long time. And quite simply, the problem is more people and fewer safeguards equals more money. And fewer people and better and more safeguards equals less money. That's the problem. There's nothing new about concerts. We've been having concerts for decades, right? Even back to the tragedies at Woodstock and all that, right? Like, this is not a new issue. This is not like, oh, nobody ever thought to put 50,000 people in an area before and that crowds might happen. No. So sort of, it's a little bit disingenuous of him to talk about it as if, nobody's ever done this before. Well, concerts are not a new phenomenon. This isn't something that was just invented.
And that's one of the main things that's important. I feel like they gotta just act on it. It can't just be like something that happens and it just roll over. Mm-hmm. We gotta be something that's taken serious and addressed seriously, and things formed around it, time and a lot of time and a lot of, thinking power spent on this, and really fixing, whatever system it is that needs to be fixed,
From the lawsuits to the media coverage, do you feel like you're personally under attack?
I mean, yeah, you see a name in it and shit, and it's like, but
poor Travis Scott. He has to live in his mansion, feel like he's under attack by the media. Pobrecito.
At the end of the day, you step in these, you step and you want to do a festival, and when you want to do things and you want to build up, it comes with certain things, right? So I think it's all about how you respond to it, and I think it's all about how you react, right? So mm-hmm. I could feel that way, but I think it's more about how I feel about the response that I care about more so, which is, actually, trying to step in and, really step up to really fixing what's happening and really step up for the safety of concert goers or people in just live spaces, period.
I wonder, is there a way to even prepare for this? Because nobody, like you said, when you're doing the planning for a show like this, nobody is planning for this to happen. So how do you even prepare for something like this to happen?
I don't know.
This is not a new issue. Crowds have been... How do you prepare for this? We've never encountered a crowd before. Like, dude, come on.
No, and I feel like when it comes out a little bit more how this could have happened, I feel like that's how we can kind of attack that. But even I was thinking in ways like tech solutions. You know, people come into these festivals with these bands that only scan you in, right? You have all type of tech now that can track your heart, can track your, oxygen levels, can track if you're gonna be sick. You can put things now if you're gonna be, get lost. There's all type of ways now. I feel like that can be the band that only gets you access to entry or to a food line or.
Okay, I you cannot be serious right now. Let's put up that tweet that Travis Scott tweeted before the festival, saying, "Don't worry, we're still getting the wild ones in," encouraging people to break into the show. Encouraging people to break into the Astroworld Festival. But now, he's saying we need to use tech wristbands to make sure that only authorized people have access. Like, absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Food line or to food trucks can now be solvable.
Food trucks. How about not going on Twitter and telling people to jump the barrier and break into your show? That'd probably be a good start.
To helping save lives, can now be more of a response to people that are now on site and on ground. I feel like that could be a way, or even just figuring out what the exact solution, what the exact problem of it was.
Well, the exact problem was. Okay. As one of the commenters to the last video said, ambulances do not drive into the middle of a crowd and chill there. That's probably what the problem was.
And dialing more into that, I think you can I feel like there is a way. I just think it needs to be time spent on figuring that out.
Have you been able to have any personal conversations with any of the families?
Yeah, again, there is a way. Because nobody's ever had a safe concert before. Because every 50,000 person concert has always resulted in dozens of people injured and 10 people dead. These have been lethal events forever and ever and ever. And nobody's ever figured out a way to find a safe one. But now, we're going to figure out a way to do this safely. Because our eyes are now open.
Families who lost loved ones?
I was able to, but, I just want to respect the, the privacy of the conversation. And I'm thankful for them for even allowing me to have the conversation. So, yeah.
How did you feel when some of the families rejected your offer to pay for the funerals?
All things are understandable, and at a time they're grieving and they're trying to find understanding, and they want answers, and it's not about that. I'm always gonna be here, to want to help them. You know what I'm saying? And it's not gonna I gotta continue to just show up for that, I just wanted to make sure that they knew that I was there for them, and continue to be there for them. I think that's just more so what it's about for that. Yeah.
That was a halfway decent answer. You gotta accept that they told you no. Seems like he does that. So yeah, that was the right answer.
Some people say, your music played a role in this. Like I've seen them, cite lyrics, that encourage this kind of behavior. I've seen them say your music is demonic and this was a satanic ritual. Do you think your music is to blame?
No. I'm a man.
Again, are you gonna say? Yeah, my music's to blame. Yeah, absolutely, Charlamagne. It was my music's fault. Come on, ask a real question.
Man of God. So that's the first thing first. And, so it's just, Yeah, that's that. And, you know, your music is just like self-expression, you know what I'm saying? And at these shows, I feel like people kind of like look at things, and if you've been to a Travis show, it's been different layers of shows, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think people are just, you know, misconceptions and taking things they're seeing and, you know, all type of things, you know? And I've took pride in trying to, you know, grow from where I was when I first recorded music to now where I'm going in music. So yeah, I just think people gotta, and that's one thing with me is just people gotta kind of, you know, experience it sometimes. And I think that's what it was. You know, people were kind of like, even before, people were hearing about it, they come and experience it and taking away their own thing. And it's always gonna be an outside opinion. But, you know, for the ones that, you know, really believe in me and, you know, understand you know, what I'm about and what I'm doing, no, that's not what.
Okay, so I'm going to take a guess here, and we're adding a counter to you knows. I'm going to take a guess at what that counter is here. I'm going to say we're at 250. I'm going to say 250 you knows. Let's see how close I am. And I have no idea what it is right now. That's going to be added once we go edit this video.
It's not what I'm, you know, preaching. I always preach like love, always preach understanding, always preach, you know, take care of your loved ones, love each other, you know what I'm saying? Get out your ideas, never let yourselves be stopped, you know? Love one another and step into that, you know?
I mean, I think that's a part of it, but the music does encourage people to be violent at these shows.
I mean,
that's what the rage is about.
I mean, most of the music is me sometimes talking about what I see at the shows.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If I'm talking about the shows, you know, and so that's just, you know, the energy, you know what I'm saying? But the energy isn't to come and start, you know, being ultra violent and just being violent and hurting each other. That's not what it's about.
So it's more so supposed to be entertainment.
Yeah, everything is, you know, and it's about what you experience at the shows and what you see, you know.
Will this change the content of your music moving forward, you think?
You know, what happened here wasn't
That's a yes.
off Travis Scott music.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't, oh, now you need to like switch up. No, I mean, I've made all different type of music in the first place, you know? I've never was just like one lane or one genre of anything in the first place. So I just think
He's so uncomfortable. That's yes. That's a my music is responsible for inciting this, but I can't actually say, I'm not a body language expert, but that's what it looks like to me.
I think it's all about experiences, and I feel like, you know, it could be music to come out of it. Lyricism, just emotion. You know, music is emotion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and music is healing. And, you know, you can just find healing and find emotion, and, you know, in that, you know, and just more progressive. You know, everything I'm trying to do is just more progressive.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys knew this, but rage actually is very healing. Sounds legit.
You said you're a man of God, and when I even said that, you know, they say your music is satanic, I saw the face that you made. Where do you think that even comes from? Travis Scott is satanic, Travis Scott is demonic.
I just think it's just things people collect, you know, people look at the internet and they just collect and they look at things and they look at visuals, and, you know, you have all these theorists and people just thinking they're looking at visuals and don't understand, you know, just the idea of like what art may be or what you're trying to do. You know, they're just making up your own message, especially when you're not out there like yelling the message all the time. You know, it's just, yeah.
And when they say this is a community event, Astroworld.
Yeah,
so they say a community event is a satanic ritual. How does that?
Yeah, that's
make
like
you feel?
It's crazy because, you know, it's like I do this for people to have a good time. You know, we have rides, we have games. You know, it's things for people to get off creative experiences. It's not, you know, the show is at the end of the day. You know, it's like, you know, and that show is just something based on what's, you know, just things. You know, it's not like. What? Like, why would we wake up one day and just trying to, that's just evil is not what we're a part of. We're not trying to be a part of that. We're trying to be a part of joy. We're trying to be a part of light. We're trying to be a part of full-blown happiness, love, you know, understanding, people taking care of each other, you know, community, people to leave from these experiences and want to go out and do good. That's literally what we want, you know. We want to show them these things, you know. We put everything into the, you know, this is, you know, this festival, you know, this is our 3rd year, you know, so we try to put, you know, every year we put everything into the festival so people can enjoy it. You know, it's not about just come perform. Not that, you know, it's things for them to do all day.
That was the most energized answer that I've seen him give, is this more energetic denial of the festival being satanic or demonic or whatever. That's about the most enthusiastic that I've seen Travis Scott through this entire interview. And I don't really have any sort of legal conclusion from that. But up until he started talking about how it was a community event and that kind of thing, he was incredibly uncomfortable, it looked like to me. And now he's actually telling his truth there. Up until that point, he's very kind of closed off, very, you know, short answers, sounds almost like a lawyer is talking. But now he's fully gesturing, he's fully engaging. I think, again, I'm sure there'll be a lot of body language analyses of this video, but this seems like he's actually starting to tell the truth. I don't doubt that he believes this part. Up until this point, probably someone else's words coming out of his mouth. But this is finally, at 30 minutes through the video, these are Travis Scott's real words, it sounds like to me.
And different artists for them to experience too.
Has the trauma of this tragedy impacted your desire to perform in the future?
I've always seen performances of art of healing for me. That's why I've always been so into it. You know, I don't know if you looked at like some of the growth from where I've tried to take performance. I've always tried to, I feel like it's the art of healing. I feel like it's a moment where people have a mutual understanding. You know, and I feel like the first things first, before anything, is that we address, you know, a lot of safety concerns. I think the first things first is that, because not even just for me, you don't want other, you know, artists to have to go and take a part of that trauma, take a part of that experience, take a part of that, you know, that fear. You don't want concert goers to still be a part of that fear. You want them to feel safe. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's just the first things first. And I think,
yeah, again, Travis Scott, the concert safety crusader. It's a good role. It kind of has a ring to it.
Once we take major steps into moving in that direction, you know, I feel like, you know, it could be cool for people to practice that healing again, you know, and understand that. I don't think people should run away from it and shy away from it. I think, you know, it's a form of healing, you know?
You know, no matter what you do at any of your shows in the future, regardless of how much security, how much safety you put in place, you cannot control human behavior.
Yeah.
You can't control 40, 50,000 people doing whatever it is that they do. Does that scare you?
That's a great argument, Charlamagne Esquire. It's almost like you're putting words in his mouth. Crazy.
I mean, yeah, but, you know, you also put trust in the fans too, to, you know, just have a good time. You know, you just reinstill that, and, you know, you continue to practice, you know, when you're on stage, to just remind them, you know, and even when they're there, to just constantly have messages to remind them, like, yo, look, you're here to have a good time. We're not here. If you see somebody, you know, help another, you know. I think it's just continue to reinstill that message.
Again, previous concert footage to the contrary, raging and suplexing WWE bouncers, and I want to see some fucking ragers and not lame people standing on the side. I don't know. This kind of might be a new person, metaphorically, not conspiracy theory wise.
I think help that mindset.
Yeah, so Astroworld was one of, you know, several ways you gave back to Houston. Do you think you've, you know, lost that privilege to do that?
to be honest, I haven't really like thought about that because I've just been thinking about just community healing and, you know, the family's healing and, you know, all those things kind of building back up.
That could take forever though. That, you know, I don't know if you ever truly heal from these type of situations.
Yeah. And, you know, but, you know, through these things, you know, like I say, music is part of healing. And at the end of the day, I just don't think, you know, a Travis Scott show or, you know, an Astroworld show, you know, wasn't the bottom line factor of what happened here, you know? And I think we just got to figure out what that was, what happened. But, you know,
we got to figure out what happened. We really don't know what happened. Dude, come on.
Having a Travis Scott show, you know, we've done shows, you know, all over. That wasn't the, you know, what happened here. You know, something that happened here, you know. And that's why we want to fix it, because it can happen anywhere.
So I think, I think he's in a roundabout way. His lawyers have explained the concept of proximate cause to him, which is what was the thing that caused the damage in a sense that can be legally culpable, right? So, but for X thing happening, the damage would not have happened. And also it's legally proximate in some sense to the injury of the plaintiff. What he's sort of poorly articulating here is that the Travis Scott concert and the Astroworld concert was not the proximate cause of the plaintiff's injury, and the proximate cause of the plaintiff's injury was in fact something else, even if you can find all this stuff wrong with the Travis Scott show and the Astroworld show, that in fact the proximate cause was bad security, bad communication, Live Nation being crappy, yada, yada, yada. I think it sounds to me like he's talking about proximate cause in kind of a not very insightful way.
You know what I'm saying? And I think once we get further along in that, I think, you know, it'd be a little bit more receptive, I feel.
Just you as an individual, when you perform again, what precautions will you take moving forward? Just you, just based off what you can personally control. What precautions would you take moving forward?
I'll do the same thing I'm, been doing, just double, making sure everybody is on post, and, I'll do the, double down on just making sure that everyone is locked in. Everyone is aware, everyone is on response, everybody is on, on it. You know what I'm saying? And
so this is an answer coming from a lawyer, because what his lawyer told him was, don't say you would do anything different, because that can be considered an admission of fault. So what he's saying here is, I wouldn't do anything different, but I would double down on making sure that everyone else is doing their job. Of course you would do things different. Of course you would add precautions and make sure you can talk to whoever. And if you saw an ambulance in the crowd, you would stop it, and you'd have a better crowd control plan, and you'd hire more security, and you'd hire more medical, and you do, there's about 1,000 things that you would do differently, obviously. But he can't say that, because his lawyers have told him, certainly his lawyers have told him, don't you dare say that you would do anything differently, because that could be considered an admission of fault. So, again, lawyer answer here.
Look out. Try to, if you felt like it wasn't there more, push for it to be more. Push the call and response more with the fans.
Like, what do you mean? Like, are y'all okay?
Or, try to have some sort of call and response with the fans.
This is like the 5th or 6th time he's said call and response. I can't believe that. That's a lightweight answer to say that the way you check on whether the fans are okay is call and response. No, the way you check on whether fans are okay is you hire enough medical personnel, and you hire enough security personnel, and you have procedures for those people to be able to tell you, hey, stop the show. That's how you check on the fans. You don't check on the fans through call and response. That's fucking absurd.
while still being smooth in the performance. Because at the end of the day, it's still performance art. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the whole general idea about this is you want to make sure that it's all these factors are done before we even go into these things, you know? Because you want to just, when you go in, you want to have the mindset that, okay, people are going to be okay. We can have a good show. If anything's going down, people are going to be right there to be the first one to get to them, you know? And if it's going to be any communication, you know, communication, but, you know, I think, yeah.
When you did stop the show, how did you see that one person?
I mean, he was right there, you know? You had like, you had people like just spread it out, you know? And so I'm looking, I'm like, oh. So I just called down and, you know, the medics just came in, responded, got him out, you know?
That's the only one you saw that?
Yeah,
night.
that's the only one I saw. And then, you know, when I seen the lights in the back, you know, I just double checked, make sure everyone was okay. You know, I got a response that everyone was okay.
I wonder if by the lights in the back, I wonder if he's referring to the ambulance here. And also, I'll have to go back and check my notes, but I think he stopped the show, paused the show 2 or 3 times for people who were injured to be helped out and taken out of the crowd, right? I'll have to go back and check my notes there, but I think it was 2 or 3 times. So again, I mean, factual inconsistencies here that, yeah, this video would probably be admissible. Don't know if it's enough to say that he's lying, but it seems like there's a couple of little cracks in the story. Maybe.
Yeah.
How normal is that to see ambulances and everything else at these festivals?
Well, it was lights, so.
Okay, here you go. Here's your answer. So he's saying it wasn't an ambulance, it was lights. Now, this is a lie. This is a fucking straight up lie, because he's on a live mic saying ambulance. We hear Travis Scott say there's an ambulance in the crowd. So, bingo. Plaintiff attorneys, I hope you're watching this. That's a straight up lie.
You know, and ambulance don't really have like red and blue lights, you know.
So you thought it was...
I don't, you don't know, you just look at...
An ambulance does not have red and blue lights. Number one, yes, they do. Number two, he's on the mic saying ambulance, and we can play that clip again. But he's on the mic saying the word ambulance. This is a big mistake.
You just looking at his lights. That's why I asked. I'm just like, yo, is it an ambulance? It's like, what's going on? You don't know if it's like somebody got some lights up there doing, you know, doing some turn. You don't know, you know, but, you know, didn't get a response. So, you know, you got a response from the fans. You know, I asked everyone to put their hand up. And then, you know, didn't get a response from anything else, so just carried on.
Does it make you feel...
So here he's saying that he said the word ambulance, but then decided that it was not an ambulance. I mean, that seems like equally bull to me.
You feel judged when you see videos, you know, circulating of other artists stopping their shows, like to check on fans since Astroworld? Because it's almost like the insinuation from other artists is that, like, you didn't do enough, so we don't want to be like Travis.
I take it as, you know, they're just taking extra precautions.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just taking extra precautions. Or baseline precautions of, you know, non-negligence. Could be that too.
You know, because it might not have been something that, you know, was running through their mind at time before, and they're just taking extra precautions.
Again, okay, so I want you to think back of how animated Travis Scott was when he was talking about it's a community festival and when he was answering the demonic question. Remember how animated he was, and look how uncomfortable this man is. He's in a little box. He's boxed in. He feels trapped. Again, I'm not a body language expert, but to me, this is striking.
To, you know, make sure they don't run through the same problems. And I can commend him for that. You know, I've always done the same thing, you know, in my prior shows and at this show. So, you know, I feel him, you know. I just think it's been a little bit more, people are more capturing it now, like, because of what's going on. I think that's just how the media works.
Do you feel like your team right now is allowing you to do everything that you possibly could do?
And as far as what?
Just as far as like anything regarding to the situation, you know, speaking out,
well,
reaching out to families, whatever.
Well, yeah, you know, it's a lot of legal into it, but at the end of the day, I'm human, so I want to do so much to try to like help and heal, and you know, you want to give time for people to heal, and you want to give time, but you know, I want to be able to like go and start taking these steps to, you know, addressing these, you know, these problems and, you know, getting to the solutions, you know, addressing.
So he again, this is all about Travis Scott. This is not about the grieving families who lost their sons and daughters, and you know, in some cases one who is 9 years old. I mean, all the deaths are tragic. All of the deaths are tragic, but there's something, at least for me, that is particularly heart-wrenching about it. The death of a 9-year-old. Like, kid hadn't even gone to high school. He was dead. Anyway, what sticks out about this to me is he's all about me, right? This isn't about what can I do to help make the families better. It's what can I do to get past this problem and address this issue and get back to normal, right? What I read between the lines here is he wants to move on and get back to normal and have his concerts and have his rage and make his money, and he wants to get back to normal and, you know, get past the whole thing. Well, guess what? 10 people died. That's not something that you know, get past like you had a bad Tuesday.
Addressing the solutions and addressing ways to fix these things from happening in the future. Like, and I think that's the main thing. And I've always took pride in trying to lead things and go and attack things and, you know, be the first to jump out and go do it, you know? So I'm more than, you know, happy enough to go.
But then there's the person Travis Scott, but then there's the business of Travis Scott. So yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people around you trying to protect the business.
Yeah.
So for you personally, like, you know, how much do you want to protect the business as well?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, people have to understand these businesses aren't built because, you know, you Charlamagne, I'm Travis. So it's like, I've always cared about, you know, the fans. I don't give a, you know, it's about them. You know, so.
Calling BS on that one. Dude's all about the cash.
It's like, obviously it's like business in this, but I've always been the one that's like pushed back on vocally, like, yo, you know, we gotta, you know, this is about, you know, the fans, and, you know, the team has always felt the same way. And so, and anytime I've ever done anything corporately, that's just how I've always been. It's just like, yo, we wanna go do things to make sure that the people that are experiencing this product is having the best experience. It's not about, you know, what we could do, like the numbers, like, you know, that's not what we chase here. We chase for people to have the best experience. You know, we want people to enjoy themselves. We want people to walk away with like just ideas, like, wow, this is like, you know.
They say that there's no permanent friends or enemies in business. So, you know, if anybody decides to back away from Travis Scott on a corporate level, do you care?
No. But I've never jumped into things with people that didn't know me. So everyone I surrounded myself with, you know, it's always been, you know, a backbone and, you know, supportive to anything I want to do to help fix anything that could be a good cause, you know. So, you know, I'm thankful for that, you know.
If the families of the victims never forgive you, will you ever be able to forgive yourself? Can you live with that?
That's actually a really good question. I think we're up to, 4 or 5 good questions now. So good job, Charlamagne. Excellent question.
Nah, it's tough.
And actually a good answer.
It's real tough. Because I want them to really know that my intentions, wasn't to harm their family at all. It's for them to come to have a good experience. And I've always feel like I have a connection with my fans, through the music. I feel like when they come to see me, it's not just like, oh, they're coming, they come in it's like a connection. And sometimes not knowing, people not understanding like artists and where we come from, it could be a disconnect.
It's interesting. He starts off this answer by showing, I think, some genuine grief, contrition, remorse. And then as he talks about it, again, now it's about him. It's about people understanding him and something about his position. Sort of a pattern I see in these answers of when he first starts to engage the question, like some heavy stuff, but then he makes it about him and it's easy.
Connect. And, I would love to, instill that understanding and, for them to truly know where my heart's from. It didn't come for me to harm, and it wasn't about a show to keep, at all. It's about for them to have, wanted a very good time, and it's just tragic that it didn't turn out that way.
Do you feel like you're being villainized?
I mean, I feel like it comes with being in a seat, and I feel like they pointing the finger at me because it's my festival, or they want to, it's I am who I am, and it maybe not a lot of like understanding about like what's going on, but like I said before, I feel like I can kind of like take that, in a sense, because my whole career I feel like people have been trying to do that, and I feel like I've shown through actions that that's not my character, that's not that's not who I am. I'm shining through positive, and I feel like with understanding and with everything, I feel like people understand that what my heart wasn't there to be the villain, I was there to be like a hometown hero.
I don't really know what to think about that, because the question was whether he's being villainized, and his answer is basically, yeah, but I didn't mean it like that, and people know that I didn't mean it like that. I don't know about that. I don't think that whether he did or didn't mean it that way, I don't think it is obvious to everyone who has been following this. I don't think everyone who is following this would agree that he was trying to be the hometown hero here. I don't think that's something that is the consensus of the people, if you will, at this point. I don't think that's something that's obvious to everyone. It's not obvious to me.
The day before Astroworld, there's footage of you discussing the importance of giving back to your community and how much it means to you to be able to do that. Do you think people have forgotten, your heart in all this and what Astroworld was truly about?
I think people, are grieving, and it can get, misplaced with, who cares about that, what's going on right now. But, like I said, I just want to continue to, stay on those stepping blocks and continue to doing the charity I've been doing, and continue to doing the community work I've been doing for Houston. I was doing those things before, not looking for people to pat me on the back for them. I was just doing them simply to make a change. And so you wouldn't be surprised if people don't, pay attention to some of those things throughout whenever you are doing them. But that's not what you're doing for, really. So I feel like at the end of the day, you continue to do those things regardless,
Do you think you'll ever be able to recover from this emotionally?
You know, my grandmother, my dad, my mom, they've always told me to, you know, put your faith in God and hide behind his wing. And at the end of the day, I think you gotta, I've always told myself, you know, things are gonna get, it's hard, you know, things can be feeling amazing sometimes and things can get real hard, you know, and I think how you respond to things and where you channel your emotions is very important, you know, especially at a time like this. And I gave my, you know, it was hard for me to really, because it is the first time anything like this. I've even seen anything like this, heard of it, and it be happening, you know, to this whole community, you know. It just, you know, you kind of just, you want to be able to channel that emotion to just respond, and you got to be strong, man. Stepping in and doing the things for the community doesn't come with being, you know, too weak. You got to be able to, you know, step through these things and show people that you really care. You know, this wasn't just to get to the point to do this, but it was really to create active change, you know? And I think, you know, these are, you know, it's these moments right now where you gotta really show, you know, where your heart is in this thing, you know? And I think, you know, that's what I've always, you know, wanted to do, and, you know, I wanna just continue to do that.
I'm glad you mentioned your family, because that was one of my last questions. Like, how important is family been in this situation?
You know, it's been important. All my family was there too. You know, so it's been important. But to be able to have them and bounce back, you know, ideas, and, you know, them grieve with, you know, for those families as well. Pray for those families as well. Continue to, you know, them also being a helping hand as well, you know, which gives me more hands to help. I feel like, which is more important.
Is it me, or is the filter like is it getting more gray and less gray, like in and out? I don't like, what's that about? Yeah, but it was really gray just a minute ago, and now this isn't a legal reaction. I wonder what's going on.
And them always having my back to support the idea, want to create this change, I think, you know, at least gives me more confidence that, you know, I'm not in this alone. You know what I'm saying? To help fix this, you know, for the families, for the community.
As a superstar, it's weird, right? Because these same outlets that report on this tragedy, when something like the W cover leaks, then now they want to get back to your relationship. And whether you and, you know, Kylie are together or not. Is that not strange to you?
I mean, yeah. So I don't really only do magazines I like, you know? But, you know, a magazine gonna try to like figure out what the fuck they want to figure out, you know?
I don't know what he just said.
I've never did anything for a relationship for, you know, anybody to try to figure out or put a label on what they want to put it on. You know, we know what our relationship is, and, you know, so I just stand strong on it.
So I guess my final question, man, who does Travis Scott ultimately, I guess, think is responsible for this tragedy?
You know,
Get ready for a lawyer answer.
It's crazy because something tragic happened here, and what I've just been trying to, you know, get to the bottom of is just what happened here, how it happened here. And I think the families are owed, you know, that. I feel like, you know, the community is owed that. I feel like we're owed that, to just know what happened here.
Please don't tell me that he's going to not answer this question.
And, you know, I don't want to just speak too soon. I just want to figure out, you know, what happened, you know? But, you know, we, like I said, you know, as artists, we just leave this up, you know, to to professionals to make sure that we, that.
Okay, so as the professionals, whoever that is, presumably Live Nation, security company, police, is that who he means by professionals?
That fans are having a good time. People are protected and can, leave and have the best experience ever.
They're going to pick this interview apart. So is there anything you want to say, to your
Yep. Yep. Yes, we are.
To your fans, to the family of people who lost loved ones, before we get out of here?
I mean, I want everyone to just continue praying for the fans. I want people to continue praying for the fans that was lost. I want people to continue praying for the families. I want people to continue just reaching out for healing. I want people to continue to just be there for each other. And remember that, that love is just, everything. And with that, we can try to cure everything, and take steps into, healing. And I think the more we try to, continue to let people grieve and continue to be there for people and, check in on people and, check in on your loved ones and just, I think that's just like one of the most important things. And, staying strong through this while we, figure out what's going on, and bring understanding to these families and to the community.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to send healing energy to everybody involved, the families, those who were lost, yourself, because nobody wants tragedies like this to happen.
Yeah.
So.
We're going to send some healing energy, guys. That'll make everything right. We're going to send some healing energy. Y'all can, your son or daughter might be dead, but don't worry. We got some healing energy for you.
Not at all.
So preventing them moving forward is the only thing we can do.
Yeah.
Appreciate you,
Thank
brother.
you, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man.
Absolutely.
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of time to digest the whole thing. I might watch it a couple more times. But as sort of promised in the first few seconds of the video today, I had not seen 90% of that video, 90%. What's my reaction to it? I think he could have done worse. He did okay. The questions were giant cream puffs thrown at t-ball speed by kid gloves. There were maybe, 4, 5? We can go back and count, but a few real questions. A lot of questions to which the obvious answer was suggested, right? Hey, you weren't responsible for this, were you? Well, no, of course not. Like, who's going to say, well, yeah, actually I was. Generally a pretty cream puff interview. Couple good questions. What stood out to me from a lawyer perspective about this interview? He was well prepared by his attorneys, I think. He didn't say anything other than maybe the ambulance thing, and we'll talk about that. But other than the ambulance thing, he didn't really say anything that was overly damning to his case in court. I don't know how you get around the sorry thing, because from a moral perspective, from an emotional perspective, the only satisfying thing, not even satisfying is not even the right word. The only thing in the direction of satisfying that you can say to the families in the wake of an event like this, for which you bear significant chunks of responsibility, morally if not legally, probably both, but certainly morally. The only thing that you can say in the direction of sincerity is sorry, is an apology. But legally, he was well instructed to not say that and to not really dip your toe in that pond. So I get it. Probably would have been better to redo the apology video in advance of this. so that you have something a little bit more eloquent, right? Like I thought Drake's apology was a little bit better, actually relatively well written. So that's, you know, the question of the family is sort of a no-win situation. Most of his answers were generally unsatisfying. Not really surprised that he's trying to throw the security people in Live Nation and the professionals, whoever that is, under the bus. Only very tangential engagement with the fact that he was the face of the festival and probably had some involvement in selecting those professionals. Didn't really engage with that question, which is understandable. I wouldn't want to engage with it either because it probably means that you're liable. So let's talk about his answer to the ambulance question. And it sounds like the road that he's taking is, I didn't know that that was an ambulance. I thought it was just lights. I don't know how anyone can believe that, because it's a thing that has red and blue flashing lights on it. And he says into the mic, there's an ambulance in the crowd. So to say, oh, I didn't know it was I thought it was an ambulance and then I didn't think it was an ambulance. I mean, come on, dude. You know it was an ambulance. Well, but that, or you're, you know, very stupid, right? If you say, oh, is that an ambulance? Oh, no, it has red and blue lights. Maybe it's not an ambulance. Like, you got to be pretty dumb to think that. And either he's really dumb, and I don't think he is. Either he's really dumb or he's lying. Those are really the only two options. That being said, given the fact that you said ambulance, you said that was an ambulance into a live mic, how do you deal with that fact after? I don't know. There's really not a... That's a really difficult point to get around. In addition, I'll say another notable moment of this interview for me was saying raging doesn't mean uncontrollable anger. It doesn't mean getting rambunctious. It doesn't mean any of those things. That's, you know, despite the fact if you look up rage in the dictionary, that's literally what the word means. Raging means love and means taking care of each other. Raging means just having a good time. I can't help it. The only response to that is laughter. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's an absurd. Then again, if you remember that movie Argo, where they say this is a terrible plan, and they say, well, all we have are terrible plans. This is the least terrible plan of the terrible plans. I don't know how you deal with the fact that you've called for ragers over and over and over and over, including that night, which Charlamagne got wrong. I don't know how you get over that. I don't know how you get around that. Like the ambulance, that is a very difficult fact. So, those are the salient points that stick out to me from this interview. I'll talk about it a little bit more sometime. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.